How to Win Friends and Influence People has 4 parts and 30 lessons, and in this book summary, I'm gonna share all the 30 lessons. So, let's begin. Part 1. Fundamental Techniques in Handling People. Lesson 1. If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. This lesson comes from the greatest American president, Abraham Lincoln. At the Battle of Gettysburg, the enemies were almost defeated, but the American Army's general, General Meade, made a mistake. He wasted a lot of time and the enemies escaped. Abraham Lincoln was angry at General Meade and wanted to criticize him. After Lincoln's death, the police found a letter at his home which was addressed to General Meade. In this letter, he criticized General Meade, but he never sent that letter because he knew that criticism is useless. In this chapter, there are even examples of criminals who don't even blame themselves. So if criminals don't blame themselves, why would normal people like you and me would blame ourselves? Most people don't accept their mistakes, no matter how wrong they are. In such cases, if you criticize them, you won't change their opinions. Instead, they will dislike you. You will lose their respect. So, avoid criticism. Lesson 2. The Big Secret of Dealing with People. Charles Schwab was the president of the steel company, and he's the first person in history to ever earn $1 million a year salary. Andrew Carnegie made him the president not because of his technical knowledge, but because of his communication skills. And according to Schwab, this is the secret of his communication. He told the author, "I have the ability to motivate people to do good work. I bring out their energy, and I do that by appreciating people." Neurologist Sigmund Freud once said that whatever human beings do, they do it to fulfill their 2 desires. First is sex, and second is the desire to feel important. This is the reason why people want a lot of money and why they show their fancy gadgets and upload pictures on social media. When you appreciate people, you make them feel important. Lesson 3. He who can do this has the whole world with him. He who cannot walks a lonely way. Have you ever tried fishing? To get a fish, you use a hook, and in that hook, you hook something that the fish likes, such as worm. You never hook things like a burger, pizza, ice cream, or anything that you like. We know this principle while fishing, but when it comes to dealing with people, most of the time, we talk about the things we want. If you want to make a deal or convince someone, think about the benefits the other person will get. The author of this book used to give lectures at a hotel ballroom every year, but during one year, he got a letter from the manager, in which the manager stated that he's increasing the rent 3 times. To convince the manager, author went to meet him. They sat down, and then the author took a paper and wrote the advantages and the disadvantages the manager will get from this deal. The advantage was that the ballroom will be free and it can be used for some party for which they can charge much more rent. The disadvantage: if the manager increases the rent, his income won't rise. In fact, it will go down to 0 because the author cannot afford that much rent, and then he will have to find some other place for the lectures. Second, if the manager gives the ballroom to the author, then a lot of people will come to attend his lectures, including businessmen and families, which is a free advertisement for the hotel. Even after spending thousands of dollars, the hotel cannot attract that many people. Then the author gave that paper to the manager and said that he will wait for his decision. The next day, the author received a letter in which the manager stated that the rent will not be increased by 300%, it will be increased by 50%, which the author gladly accepted. So talk about the benefits they will get. Part 2. 6 ways to make people like you. Lesson 4. Do this and you will be welcome anywhere. When we are talking about making friends, let's learn from the greatest friend maker, the dogs. Why do people love dogs? We don't get milk or eggs from the dogs. People love dogs because a dog is just very interested in you. When you come home, your dog will come running to you and will hug you. Now think about people. Why do people take interest in you? A salesman can take interest in you because he wants to sell you something. But dogs don't want to sell anything. Neither they want to marry you. They want nothing from you. They just give you unconditional love. And that is why we love them. In this chapter, there's one quote from the author that I like the most. The author says, "You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you." So stop waiting for people to take interest in you. You go to them and become their friend. Lesson 5. A simple way to make a good first impression. Once Dale Carnegie gave a task to his students. He told them that they have to smile at someone every hour and then share the result. One of his students named William was married for the last 18 years, and his marriage was very boring. They both felt like roommates. One morning, when his wife came for breakfast, he said good morning to her and smiled at her. His wife could not believe it, and after that day, it became a daily ritual, and this smile changed their married life. Charles Schwab used to say that his smile is worth $1 million, and he meant it. When you smile at people, you are telling them that you like them, so smile more. Lesson 6. If you don't do this, you are headed for trouble. Andrew Carnegie was one of the richest men of his time. When Carnegie was 10 years old, he found 2 rabbits, and after some time, there were a lot of rabbits, but he did not have anything to feed them. There were some kids in the neighborhood that played with the rabbits too. Carnegie told them that if they can bring something to feed the rabbits, he would name those rabbits on those children's names. This worked like magic, and kids brought food for the rabbits. After some years, he used the same principle in business and made millions. Andrew Carnegie wanted to sell steel rails to the Pennsylvania Railroad. At that time, the railroad's president was Edgar Thomson. Carnegie opened a new steel mill and named it Edgar Thomson Steel Works, after which Thomson brought steel rails from that mill. Politician James Farley once said that the secret of his success is that he can call 50,000 people from their name. Remember that the sweetest word people find in any language is their name. When you remember someone's name and you call them by their name, they like it. Lesson 7. An easy way to become a good conversationalist. Millie is one of the author's students. Once she was talking to her son, and her son told her, "Mom, I know you love me a lot." Millie replied, "Of course I love you a lot. Did you ever doubt that?" So her son said, "No, I don't doubt that, but I know you love me a lot because whenever I talk to you, you leave everything and you listen to me." When you talk to someone, they don't care about what you want to talk about. They care about themselves and their interest. So when someone talks, listen to them without interrupting. In any conversation, talk less and listen more. Lesson 8. How to interest people. Former US President Theodore Roosevelt used to meet a lot of people every day, including politicians, his friends, diplomats, etc. But it doesn't matter whom he's meeting. Everyone who met him was astonished with his knowledge in the wide variety of topics. But the truth is that Theodore Roosevelt did not have that much knowledge. Whenever he was expecting a guest, he would find out about the interest of that person and then read a bit about that. The question is, why would a man as busy as Theodore Roosevelt would do that? Just like every leader, Theodore Roosevelt knew that the way to a person's heart is to talk about the things they find interesting. So when talking to people, talk about the things they find interesting. Lesson 9. How to make people like you instantly. One day the author went to a post office to post his letter. He was waiting in the line and he saw that the clerk that was registering the letters looked very bored and upset. When it was the author's turn, author looked at the clerk and said, "I wish I had hairs like you." A smile came on the face of the clerk and he started talking to the author, and their small conversation went on for a few minutes. As we have discussed previously, one of the biggest human need is to feel important, and one way to do that is to give compliment. The compliment you are giving should be real. You have to sincerely do it. Don't just praise anything. Another way to give importance is to use friendly phrases like thank you, sorry, I hope you don't mind if it's not a problem for you, and such phrases make others feel important. For part 2 of the summary, click here.